In the last 24 hours, the most powerful man in college sports said it's time to hit the reset button on transfers. The NCAA says it's about to start punishing tampering like never before, and the SEC and Big Ten just sent a white paper to Washington telling lawmakers to stay out of our media money. This isn't just headlines, this is control. Who runs college football now? Is it the conferences, the NCAA, the president, maybe Congress? Oh, we got to talk about it. Let's drive. Good evening, and welcome back to the SEC Drive. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, especially in the SEC, you've come to the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of the SEC Drive. Welcome into the show, everybody. Scott Walker, Bishop Frank, KJ Goated. Make sure you hit that like button, share the stream on one of your social platforms that I know you have, and help us hit that 5,000 subscriber mark. We are oh so close. Today, guys, we got to talk about a lot of stuff that's gone on just in the last 24 hours that it's an attempt to continue with the reshaping of college football. Some of it sounds pretty good. Some of it sounds like a bunch of BS to me. But in the end, what we know is that none of this stuff is going to stay the same. And we got to talk about it. How's this going to affect Oklahoma? How's this going to affect SEC? How's this going to affect all college football and college athletes moving forward? Let's talk about the first thing, the Sankey move, transfer resets. Greg Sankey is calling for a one-time transfer rule with national standards in the NIL. He will be in Washington, D.C. at President Donald Trump's roundtable at the White House on March 6th. But last night, tonight, the SEC commissioner was in attendance for a top 25 matchup between Texas, and Georgia in women's basketball. Actually, it was last night. Sankey joined a broadcast team where he discussed several topics, among those including the NCAA transfer portal and NIL. He's calling for national eligibility standards, urging Congress to focus on specific issues impacting eligibility and managing transfers as to not diminish the educational continuity of college athletics. Among the things he said, my advocacy would be, hey, we should be back to some type of one-time transfer exception. We have to support educational continuity if we truly believe that academics is at the heart of what we do, and I'm a true believer in that. We should allow people to make decisions. This is a notion where we have 26, 27, and 28-year-olds playing against 19 and 20-year-olds. That means there's fewer opportunities to move from high school into college athletics. That's something we've talked about. That's not who we've been. That's not who we should be. We have to get back to national standards to the extent conferences need to manage that themselves. I think we're ready to do that at the presidential level, that the NCAA can do that with kind of some new thinking and new rationale. Now, as we talked about, a one-time transfer exception would be throwing a wrench into kind of how things are currently being done as far as building rosters across the country. It's not uncommon to see a bunch of these players that are in their third, fourth, or even fifth school in 5 seasons, and they become instant impact performers for a new team. Now, I would tell you that here's the thing, why now? Is it really about 26 or 27-year-olds? Is this about roster control, which I think that's where I lean overall? And because if you think this is about academics, you're naive. This is about restoring leverage to the institutions, to the conferences, to Greg Sankey himself. And something you got to remember too, this is where they're going to start talking about cracking down on tampering. This is where you start, I was watching the High Top guys this morning, and they were talking about how, they first started off talking about that you got to go after these institutions that are allowing it to go on. So these coaches, there's got to be some kind of real punishment for a coach that tampers with the player. If you go tamper with them, or let's say you go get them and there's not a transfer portal, that's something that they're talking about an awful lot right now, is whether or not after the spring season, there's no more transfer portal from the spring. So is it going to be one of them deals where you're going to start seeing a bunch of guys that are just going to leave school, try to pop up in a new spot? This is where Greg Sankey's coming in on that transfer stuff, right? The only thing is that it is, as the High Top guy said this morning, this is a problem that schools themselves are having, because you'll hear all the coaching or all the talking points and that they're all on board with all this. You'll hear guys like Greg Sankey be all on board with this, even so far as to going against the Charles Bediaco deal, things like that. At the end of the day, it only goes so far as it doesn't affect them in their roster. As soon as somebody is going to be pulled off of their roster, or they need somebody for their roster, they don't mind bending and breaking the rules as far as tampering, or even taking on a player who didn't even enter the transfer portal. He just left school. Then you got people complaining about you got to hold them to contracts. Now, this is where I kind of got at odds with the High Top guys this morning, particularly Shelton. And I was trolling a little bit, kind of calling them communists for, the kind of the same thing that Benji and I were talking about the other night whenever we had the show on the recruiting intel, when we were busting chops on Mr. Mason and K. Chris. Now, I would again tell you that I agree that, there's going to have to be some kind of parameters, and, if a contract doesn't matter, then what does in college football? The point that I was trying to make this morning, though, was that it's easy to sit here and talk about holding players accountable for the contracts that they sign. Okay. What about the contracts that are getting signed by coaches to the universities? They can break them at any time. What about the contracts that the coaches are signing with the players that they get out of or wiggle out of, and, tell them, what, we're not going to honor that and pay that kind of money because you didn't produce what we expected you to produce this year? These are things that, we're not having full conversations, is the point I'm trying to make here. You're not getting full on conversations about what's really going on. It's always one-sided. You're pointing the finger in one direction. You've got the Big 12 and the ACC right now. On the Big 12 Mafia, you got Bomber and the Wild Ute screaming and yelling about the SEC and the Big 10 screwing over the rest of the country, stealing their teams out of the Pac-12. That's the Wild Utes over there whining and bitching about the Pac-12 being no longer because they hate being in the Big 12. And now they've lost their coach to Michigan and everything else. They're throwing a shit fit over there right now at poor old Moen in there as the Big Ten representative. He's an Ohio State fan. He's getting beat to death right now. The truth is, you've got schools like Texas Tech, Cody Campbell out here, who's quietly doing this. Now this is another thing they got released yesterday, that they have a new white paper out there from the SEC and the Big Ten that's basically going against what Cody Campbell is trying to pitch, which is a pooling of media rights across all the conferences, and basically taking away the autonomy of the SEC and the Big Ten, and as well as the ACC and Big 12. Now, this obviously would benefit the Big 12 and the ACC because it would bring them back up to somewhere around par with how much money they're making in comparison to how much they're making in the SEC and the Big 10. Listen, I got to tell you, in my opinion, that's crap. Because why did you, unless you're going to, and look, it's something that the NCAA and these conferences are going to have to make a decision of on their own. And right now, you cannot blame the SEC and the Big Ten for wanting to exploit the power that they've gained by being the biggest brands in the sport, garnering the lion's share of the revenue in the sport because they are the biggest brands in the sport. They are the most watched games from week to week in the sport. They have the best players in the sport of college football. All you got to do is look at the NFL draft to see that. Okay? I understand what happened with Indiana this year. They were able to, because of this transfer portal and all this other stuff, yeah, they've got guys that are 25, 26 years old that were essentially playing against guys that were no more than, 21, 22 in the Miami game. Any way that you kind of slice this, it's kind of, they're wanting to say it's going to save college sports. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to say bullcrap. They're arguing decentralization and because that it maximizes the value. It maximizes value for the Big 12. It maximizes value for the ACC. It takes away from the value that you built if you're the SEC and the Big 10, though. And here's the thing. It isn't even about saving college sports to begin with. What it's about is who gets to control the billions. Are we going to give that over to, I don't know even who we're talking. Are we going to give it to Congress? Is this what we want Congress doing? I got to tell you, I don't want public politicians in this country having anything to do with sports. They screw up everything they touch. Both sides, left wing, right wing, same freaking bird. They're all screwed up. Everyone becomes a communist if it helps them win a football game. Absolutely, David. And that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, I don't want to hear all this stuff about fairness and all that other stuff. Well, you guys know my favorite saying when it comes to fair in college sports. Fair is where they go to judge pigs. That's it. This is not about fairness. It's never going to be about fairness. And is it fair to take away the brands that have been, the brand power that the Big Ten and the SEC have built up through years and years of, winning? I don't get it. I don't get it. You have the ability to invest the same way that they do. You got to go out there and do that. This, we want it to be fair. We want it to be fair. That's silly stuff. Let's see, what do we got here? We put all this pressure on coaches to win, but get pissy when they tell kids to leave to build their roster. Okay. When a coach breaks a contract, there's usually a buyout involved. There is. What about and I'll tell you that there's some buyouts. The Julian Mensah thing going to Miami. Now that was straight up tampering. No two ways around it. And he had a contract that he signed before last season that they were going to hold him to. They wanted to hold on to his, and I don't know why he signed this contract, but they wanted to hold his NIL rights or whatever, his rights to make money as an NIL guy, and for sure his revenue share rights. So there was a lot of stuff going on there, but at the end of the day, they agreed to a buyout. Miami, of course, put the money up for the buyout because they want their quarterback. You're not going to be able to keep him around, just like you're not going to be able to keep a coach around either. There was a buyout in that instance, right? There was. I think that you can make that work. The other thing that I would tell you, though, one more time, I'm going to say this, Sooner in Texas, you got to remember that a lot of times these contracts are not worth the paper that they're written on. And that goes for the school side of things as well. Just in Oklahoma, we've seen that some of these contracts, they just kind of rip them up, or they're doing them a year-to-year basis or whatever. If you want to do, look at Tennessee and Nico, they tore up his contract a year ago, about this time last year, as a matter of fact. But nobody talks about that, or about them, and talking about this transfer stuff, a one-time transfer rule deal. Well, it's easy for the commissioner to sit there and say that stuff, and we've heard that a lot over the last couple of weeks about that. But at the end of the day, what are we talking about? Whenever we know for a fact, just talking about Oklahoma right now, for a fact, it's 90% or more of players that have entered the transfer portal at Oklahoma have been told to do so over the past few cycles. Or basically pushed in that direction because they took away their money and what they were supposed to be getting. I know that there's one instance of a player that, from what I understand, they didn't. There was negotiations ongoing at the end of the season, and this player never heard a thing from Nagy and his people that were to talk about next year. They ended up going into the portal because, come to find out, there was no money for them at that point. They didn't even talk to him. We've heard about that with multiple players over the past couple of years. It's not always because there's a big argument. Sometimes it's just going to be because they don't want you there anymore. You don't fit their. I mean, they've got a number that they can only spend, and that's what they want to do. Didn't Oklahoma already win this case? If you're talking about, yes, sir. This is what I was about to talk about with this white paper deal. I'll get back to this. 1 second. The bottom line is, when it comes to all this stuff, we're going to continue to sit here and act like, this is a player problem. But this is where I was at odds with High Top and then this morning, because we're short-sighted in all this as fans. We love the name on the front much more than we care about the one on the back, by and large. Right? I take a lot of heat for always seemingly falling on the side of the athlete. I don't care. I'm going to continue to do so. I'm not saying that they're always in the right in the way that they do things. I'm not. What I'm going to tell you is that until you have some kind of collectively bargained for rules, or rules that the players have say in, that they have to agree to before it goes into place, you're going to continue to have all these issues in college sports. The NCAA is talking about they're going to crack down on tampering. Okay. Except that they didn't care about it. You get to pick and choose when you care about it. Well, that's one of the NCAA, they're promising significant penalties for violators moving forward. This story alone says, as the House settlement negotiations escalated in fall of 2024, the Division I Board of Directors instructed the NCAA staff to mostly pause enforcement of tampering as focus shifted towards the finalization and then implementation of arguably the most significant change in college sports history: the settlement-related athlete compensation model currently in existence, which is about revenue share. But 18 months later, the association plans to reignite tampering enforcement, perhaps as aggressively as ever before. They're saying pursue significant penalties. They're not lining out what those penalties may or may not be. Infraction modernization task force they talked about implementing. The memo to the membership was telling them that the DI cabinet and the board of directors said go back to work on tampering stuff. He said Wednesday. Now they're not specifying exactly what those things are. But if the NCAA itself is not consistent and what it decides to enforce and not enforce. How is it that you can crack down on athletes or even the schools for that matter and the coaching on what they're doing? They're playing the game by the parameters that you've put out there up until this point. And we like to act like that this is because of players or even if it's because of coaches or whatever. It's because of the NCAA and its inability to govern. Its inability to have consistency in any way, shape, or form. And as far as Cody Campbell is concerned, let's go ahead and get to that, what you were just talking about, Dave. Oklahoma fans should know this as well as anybody else. Oklahoma changed college sports forever when it sued the NCAA for its media rights and its ability to give its media rights and receive monies for its media rights, so that you don't just have, like what he's talking about here, 4 games a week being played and the same teams being played. And here's the thing about that. Look, I understand that they may be much more as a whole, if you add in all the Power 4 conferences together, then certainly their media rights are going to be worth more than the individual media rights of the SEC or the Big 10 or the ACC or the Big 12, obviously. Right? They're going to be more, because it's all of them together. But it doesn't change the value of the media rights from the SEC conference or the Big 10 conference in comparison to the Big 12 or ACC. It doesn't change that. What it does is take the value. It would take the value from the SEC / Big 10 that they're putting into the pie and spreading that out among the conferences that aren't being watched as much. And for that matter, you no longer you would no longer be able to decide on which games are going to go. I mean, who's to say what games are going to be on? Is it even going to be the games that people really want to see? Or are we going to see, I mean, I think Notre Dame is a program that a lot of people around the country want to watch, right? I know that the SEC doesn't give a shit about it. I know that by and large, a lot of the Big 10 doesn't care about them. You've got that Northeast section of the country that's the largest population in America that does watch it. Lots of it, right? But does that mean that the rest of the country wants to see it? How are they going to do it? And is it going to be fairly dealt out to the consuming public? Why would you believe that it would be? At least with the way it is right now, where the SEC, their rights are owned by ESPN, as the ACC is the same, and mostly the Big 12 as well. I think it's like 75-25 or 80-20 between Fox and ESPN at the Big 12 level. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, they're gonna put out the games that are, but they're able to put them on in all these different ways, and you're able to watch it. If you're going to take these media rights and just take them away from the people that have invested in them at this point, what are you doing to college sports? And again, I would tell you that that's exactly what Oklahoma was fighting for back in the 80s. Exactly what they were fighting for. There's no way the one transfer rule will yeah. Listen, I mean, I don't know what it would look like either. They've talked about the CSC that apparently has no teeth. To advance to this next step, what you're talking about, I don't know that you're going to end up with no control, but because look, there's a reason that they're still around. College football doesn't have to have the NCAA to exist. It doesn't. The American Football Coaches Association, they've got different people that can the FBS itself, they don't need the NCAA to rule anything. They do that to get their own protection or whatever. But at the moment right now, what you're seeing them try to do is go to Congress and give them their exempt status on taxes and everything else and allow them to change all the rules without having collective bargaining. And that's not going to happen until you collectively bargain for these rules. Until you allow the players in all sports that are making money to have a say in what the rules are in the sports that are, they're generating all this money for, you're going to continue to have these issues. And right now, Congress is not interested. Now, as far as the president, I don't know what he's doing with this whole roundtable thing. I don't know. I don't give a shit what Tiger Woods has to think. I got to tell you, I care less and less what Nick Saban thinks about college football. I understand that he didn't like it, that, his ability to be the one program that was really paying players and getting away with it, stacking talent, years deep on his roster, and then forcing the SEC to have transfer rules that said you're not going to transfer from one SEC school to another, which means that if somebody did wiggle away from Alabama, they weren't going to wiggle into another SEC school and make it hard on him later. Now, when all that started crumbling, so did the emperor's throne. So I don't give a shit what he thinks about college football by and large. Do I think he's the best coach in the history of the game? Of course. Do I think that he built value for the players that played in his program? Absolutely. But he built value for himself, and he made himself the richest public employee probably in the country by doing things his way. He doesn't like the new way of college football. I get it. I would tell you that Big 12 and ACC, all this whining that they're doing, and for that matter, the Indianas of the world. Listen, this new way of college football has added more parity to this sport than anything we've ever seen. It's conceivable that somebody in the Big 12 or the ACC could win it. In fact, an ACC team damn near won it this year. They don't make as much money as a Big 10 team or an SEC team in media rights. Not close. Notre Dame, they have their own media deal to where they are able to compete. They almost won the Natty. They were in the national championship game 2 seasons ago now. But a Big 10 team won it for the 3rd straight year. They're obviously making the most money off of media rights at the moment. It's going to even out. I think it might be 5 to 7 million difference by the end of these first contracts that are going on right now for the SEC and the Big 10. At the end of the day, that's a lot more than those other programs are making, but there's still the ability because of the transfer portal and because of NIL that you could conceivably see a team like Texas Tech challenge for a national championship. Well, I'll believe it when I see it with Tech, but that's neither here nor there. Kansas State, why not? They've got money. They've got good players. They're able to everything that I just saw with Jerome Tang on their basketball program, they're paying shit tons of money for their basketball players. Not winning, but they were paying a lot of money. Among the top in the Big 12. They come up with money when they're trying to get a player. The $20.5 million that's supposedly out there for, that's the number. That's non-existent too. What are we talking about? Texas was over 40 million last year. They're going to be over 40 million this year. LSU's over 40 million. There's probably 10 or 15 programs in the country that are going to approach $40 million. Because why? Because that's what it takes to win. You can't make a rule and break it yourself, but expect only the athletes to go by the rules. It's wild conversation. Yeah, they were. They were. You're right about that. But I was saying Oklahoma started that lawsuit. There was, yes, definitely more than one entity involved in that by the time all was said and done. Yep. I don't care who makes what, as long as I don't get to watch, as I get to watch my team every week, and they damn better win 3/4 of them year over year of the games. Okay. What's up there, Mars? Satterfield, good to see you guys. Texas doesn't have unlimited money. Nobody said they did. They have more money than most of the country does. Shut up. Don't try to take the conversation away from what it is. Or run along. Scott Walker, good to see you. Bishop Frank. Mars. Sooner in Texas. My guy Satterfield Dave. 47 straight. Yes, sir. RSJ running a 4.32 40 is awesome. One of the top safety 40s in history. It's pretty awesome. Who else we got in here? Goated, as I said earlier. Good to see everybody in here. How many likes we got? Make sure we get them likes up. Get them likes up. Get them likes up. All right. So let's go to the tampering stuff. How will the NCAA adjudicate it all? Let's say if they start cracking down on these tampering and stuff, because apparently from what we're reading here, what I've been reading here, they're saying that there's a lot of new there were many more than 95 cases of true tampering in the last 18 months. It's probably closer to like 1,095. Dabo publicly calling out Pete Golding for tampering, at Ole Miss with this player that was already enrolled, kind of brought this back to the forefront. But again, I would tell you, you can't just every one of these programs out here, and that's something that it says in the On 3 story, is that every one of these programs out here, yeah, you can catch them like Ole Miss. They're saying that okay. Yeah, Pete did that. Cool. I think, whatever. I don't know that anything's going to probably happen there. Because guess what? They've got plenty of evidence of people tampering with their players, including one Lane Kiffin as he was walking out the door to LSU. Openly doing it. Right? It was open. We know that Miami didn't have a problem with, saying, oh, yeah, we definitely want Darian Mensah. We'll pay you the buyout money, Duke. Don't worry about it. Miami was in the middle of the deal with Wisconsin last year whenever the Wisconsin folks were trying to hold that player to the contract that he had signed. And what did he do? He just unenrolled. Popped up in Miami a few days later, enrolled and played. Nothing happened. There's nothing they could do. There's nothing they would do. Every school, at least to some degree, is tampering or has tampered with another school's player. It doesn't mean that Ole Miss should get off the hook. It means that another tampering inquiry will be right behind it, though. I don't know. Sankey had a quote in there. I'm mystified why there is a lack of clarity over the responsibility for tampering. That is the responsibility for the NCAA to oversee it. Okay, cool. But you can't just pause enforcement and then decide you're going to crack the whip when it suits you, when you've got Dabo screaming and yelling about it because he's, now it's happening to him. It's just silly shit, man. Everyone is tampering. It is. They have almost a Texas Tech tax. No one has unlimited money. No doubt. No, they're not going to. How can you? That's the whole thing is like, look, everybody knows that. I mean, what we saw the last year, Bishop, and I think this is a good question. What I'm saying is what we've seen in the last year is they're not even really trying to hide the fact that they're tampering, right? Before all that shit happened with the Wisconsin kid, and, it became pretty apparent that there was nothing that they were going to do about tampering. You were having, you get a player to get a hold of a guy that he went to, he's been in camps with, or maybe he knew him from high school or whatever. These kids all know each other. So players get a hold of each other and talk about, hey, or an agent isn't, and that's the other thing. If a coach calls an agent or an agent calls coaches, and this happens a lot of the time, the NCAA has no power over agents. They have nothing they can do about that. An agent can get a hold of Kirby Smart or Brent Venables or Steve Sarkisian and be like, these are the guys that we're going to probably have in the portal at the end of the year. Somebody was talking about that earlier this season. I want to say it was old boy from Purdue. That is who it was. It was what's his name? He used to be at Missouri and then UNLV. Why is that? The name is just missing me. Anyway, he was talking about that he had to tell one of the agents that he was sending the wrong list to him because he was sending in his own list of players that were going to probably be in the portal at the end of the year. Right. And no, you can't, Dave. You're not going to be able to do that. What do we know about the guidelines and wording in these contracts? Honestly, is there anything that can be done to contain it? No, sir. Great question, Pierre Gaines. Thank you for coming into the show. No, I don't think there's anything done. I mean, look, the problem is that any of this requires, number one, you're going to have to get buy-in on these rules from the players themselves, which, again, collective bargaining, however you want to put that, whatever you want to call it, they've got to have some say they've got to have some skin in the game that they're generating all the money in, right? These guys are the actual, the athletes, they're the money makers. And if you're not going to give them say in how the game is ruled, governed, then they're going to continue to challenge it, and it's going to be this way. But the other thing that I would tell you is, until you do that, the other part of it is that in order to do that, you would have to have all these different conferences, coaches, universities, so on and so forth, be willing to adhere to the rules that they're talking about putting out there in the ether, right? That they're wanting to enforce these rules, but they only want to enforce them until such time that it benefits them to break one of them. A la Miami, a la Ole Miss with the linebacker at Clemson. Pete Golding, do I think that it was as big a deal as Clemson made it out to be? I do not. Because it's going, as Ole Miss will tell you, they're getting tampered with as well. Do I think that Pete was a little ballsy to do what he did? I do. I do. I think it was a little wild that he did what he did, right? But that just goes to show you that all of this talk about how, you've got all these coaches that come out here and they're just flabbergasted and appalled at the shit that these other coaches are doing, or the NCAA is doing, or the kids are doing, or whatever, right? They're also appalled about it until it comes time when they need a player and they go get him. So you have to have, you're going to have buy-in across the board and not just to the extent that until it matters for you. And, as long as you're not getting screwed, it doesn't bother you. And that's what I was saying to the high top guys this morning. They got real pissed off at me about it, especially old Shelton. Woo, buddy. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. The truth is the truth is the truth. And we're not going to do the commune way around here. I don't give a shit. Don't be communist about it. Allow the players to have just as much say in the sport that they generate all this money in. I understand being a fan. Professor was yelling at, if they were attacking your vaunted defensive line, you think they're not around the country? He said, you'd be throwing a shit fit about it if they were going after that vaunted defensive line in Oklahoma. They are. What are you talking about? You don't think anybody wants Jaden Jackson or Stoney, Nigel Smith? Get out of here. Danny Okoye? It's costing OU to keep them. That's the whole point. That's a good thing for these athletes. When you have leverage on whether you can stay or go, that's a good thing for them. Do I think that they should have to stick to a contract or be bought out of it? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. Not any more than I think that the coaches should be held to that either. If a coach transfers or, leaves a school 1 year, does he have to sit out if he leaves again in 2 years? No. It doesn't. He doesn't. What are we talking about? I think it's wild conversation. Sure. Okay, I'm all for paying players, but there needs to be guidelines and parameters set around it so it's not the Wild West and coaches are allowed to poach and do whatever they want without consequence. This is exactly what I'm saying, Drew. The point is, everybody's for guidelines until it keeps them from going and getting the player that they need. And it's really easy to put it off on all the players when you don't give them they don't have any say in the rules that are governing the sport that they play. Yeah, they poached Marcus Strong from our defensive line. Clemson, there you go. Dabo's screaming and yelling about the linebacker, but he poached Marcus Strong. Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, all I'm saying is, look, I cannot stand this crazy level of just hypocrisy that goes on in college sports, and especially from the adults in the room. I understand that these athletes are all over 18 and therefore, they're adults. But there's a difference in a guy that's running a conference and running a university and a 19-year-old kid who's still learning his way around adulthood. But being told that, you need to start making grown-up decisions. You can still be taken advantage of, and that's what's going on. And they're never going to tell you that they want to make them employees or whatever. They're never going to tell you that they want those athletes to be a part of the decision-making process, because they don't. They don't. And that's what I'm talking about with Nick Saban. Look, I'm going to say this one more time. Yes, Nick Saban is the GOAT of coaches. He did a great job of, as he likes to call it, helping players create value for themselves at the University of Alabama. I agree with that. But he also created lots of value for himself by skirting the rules that that everybody else was kind of having to go by or get caught. And being able to browbeat the SEC into keeping transfer rules that didn't allow players to stay within the SEC, which hurts their draft stock if they left his program. So he could stack them 3 and 4 deep and pay them because they did pay them, and then they didn't get caught. Now, when everybody else got to be able to pay him, then he got pissed off about it, and you saw that the empire began to crumble. It's easy to sit here and blame it on Kalen DeBoer as to why they're not winning anymore, but the truth is they hadn't won anything since the COVID year. Anyway, look, at the end of the day, I don't care what he thinks about college sports right now. I don't. You dropped out of it. You're continuing to make shit tons of money off it, more money than you were making at Alabama to be at ESPN talking about the game and bitching about it. I don't care what you think. You know who else I don't give a shit what they think about it? Tiger Woods. Don't care. Don't care. Tim Tebow. Don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Unless you're talking about collective bargaining, I don't want to hear your shit. Because what are you getting out of the game? I think it's crazy. The adults in the room. Absolutely. A college football commissioner. Almost no chance, bro. If they really wanted that, it'd already be done. Again, what I was talking about with the white paper deal, which to me is pretty funny. But I'm talking about the white paper deal that Cody Campbell and Texas Tech, they're trying to come up with, which is what Oklahoma, Georgia, they fought for back in the 80s to be able to have their own media rights. That's a court case. I don't even know that it's possible that they could go back on that. I doubt that it is. I mean, look, I'm not going to act like I know a bunch about it. I just heard about it too, right? It seems weird that, that was a federal Supreme Court case, if I'm not mistaken. It was a long-ass time ago, obviously. It changed college sports in the landscape of it, though, right? Now they're talking about going back to that. And so that, I don't know. So you have centralized scheduling / and equal money being handed out, equal revenue. Look, I know people talk about wanting it to be an NFL model. They don't want it to be a complete NFL model. If they did, it would be. But then you lose your conferences, your affiliations with the conferences and all that stuff. Now, look, I can sit here and tell you that I don't love 18, 20-team conferences. I don't. Would it be cool if you could go back and everybody's making the same amount of money and you go back to the Big 8 and the Pac-12 comes back, the Southwest Conference? Cool, I guess so. I don't really care. I actually like Oklahoma being in the SEC because it's the most competitive league in the country. I like that part. Do I love that they're getting rid of all these rivalries? I do not. Do I love all the ducking of rivalries and stuff like Lincoln Riley does with Notre Dame? No. Or Matt Rule that doesn't want to play Oklahoma or Tennessee or anybody outside of that conference because they can't win anyway. No, I think it's weak sauce. I don't love it. Yep. Supreme Court. Correct, Dave. Thank you. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they fought for this back in the day. That was found to be, I guess, unconstitutional or whatever. That's what it's usually about. So that's not, you're not going to unring that bell real easily. All right. And I don't know why you would expect for the SEC and the Big Ten to just roll over and let you do that shit to them either. When they've built the brands of those conferences into what they have. Am I going to tell you that it was fair? No. Again, fair is where they go to judge pigs. So I'm not going to tell you that any of this shit is fair. Oh, they're agreeing on this one. They're agreeing on this one, Scott. Believe that. You want to come in? I was actually going to invite anybody that wants to come in and talk about this to do so. I'm going to pop the link in the chat. Hold on. Drew, I can let you hang around, but anybody else who wants to come in, we'll leave you off the stage, or we'll just have your voice on there. No video. Drew, you don't have to put your video in if you don't want to, but I've got a spot where I could pull you in with your video and everything, since you have a studio set up. Anybody else don't have to. Go ahead and call in. I'm happy to hear what you have to say. We'll keep you to a couple of minutes probably, or until we get another call, something like that. But happy to hear what anybody has to say about this. Guys, I really am. I want to hear what you guys have to say. It's important, right? Like I said, at the end of the day, the quote adults in the room are the biggest problem. And what gets under my freaking skin the most is when we start hearing people put it off on the athletes and their greed. Get out of here. Again, I would tell you one more time, there's not that the athletes are never in the wrong. They are. They've been in the wrong at times. But I don't trust a thing the NCAA has to do, or coaches or universities, and especially guys like Saban. I don't want to hear shit from him. I don't. I don't want to hear shit from Lincoln Rileys of the world or the Matt Rules of the world. I don't. About what's fair and what isn't. I really don't care what BV has to say about what is fair and what isn't in college sports. I don't care. Because it's always benefited you. Okay, Drew. Sounds good. Is this how I get down? Yes, this is how I get down. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll tell you, Pierre, this is the program that I tell it like I see. I call it like I see it, and I've been covering the game for long enough as being a journalist in college sports and watching a lot of stupid shit go on for the last 2 decades. That I've got strong opinions, and they're I can back them up with things of what I see and what I know is going on. It's not, I'm done just fly by night and just saying whatever, and it's not just about who I like as not about my alma mater, and doesn't have anything to do with that. I'm a lover of college sports, and I've loved covering the game. What I hate to see is all the sliminess that goes on, and it's always put on the kids whose backs you have profited off of for decades and decades and decades, if you're the NCAA. And coaches who are flying around in private jets and can leave whenever the hell they want. Again, I think that, can you put some parameters around things? Yeah, of course. Of course. At some point, though, those parameters that we're talking about have to be agreed upon by the players who generate the revenue in the sport that we're talking about. They don't have to make the rules completely, but they should have to agree with them. It should have to be bargained on. Yeah, we'll give you this if you give us that. There should be protections for both sides. And right now, the NCAA does not care about protecting athletes. It cares about protecting itself. It cares about its exemption status. That's the point. All right, real quick, let me see something. Oh, damn, Drew. 1 second. Struggling here. Struggling. Come on. Let me see if I can get Cody Light to come in too. Let's see. Hold on real quick. I can't find anything today. All right, real quick. Let me bring in my guy, Drew. Can you hear me, Drew? All right, cool. Welcome into the show. Our guy, Drew. What's up, man? It's been a long time since we've had you on,
It
man.
has, man. Hey, I just got home from the baseball game, so
Yeah. How'd they
and
do?
Kayla, they won 14-4 against Gonzaga. So good start
Okay.
to the weekend for the Sooner baseball team. So I know everybody in the chat, you got another Sooner guy on. What it is, what it
That's
is,
all good.
man. So yeah, no, I'm happy to be on. Excited, just kind of relaunched our stuff with the Huddle Up podcast, and I've got my boy DG David Glidden. He played receiver at Oklahoma State, and so we've kind of got a 1-2 punch going with
Cool.
that, and just doing some stuff. We had JW Walsh on a couple weeks ago.
I saw
A
that
couple
one.
other
That was a good one,
too.
actually. I like JW.
Yeah, so we're kind of doing some things and all that, talking the same stuff that you were talking about the tonight with exactly what the solution is, because everybody seems to have the complaints and the problem out there, but what is the solution to all this? I mean, everybody's got to, and which is all, these are all good opinions, don't get me wrong, but what is it going to take to finally you know figure out a method to the madness?
Yeah. I think that at the end of the day, it's what we talked about. You're going to have some kind of collective bargaining. You're going to have to give
Yeah.
the athletes a say in what the governance is, right? The
Well, you
rules.
know as well as I do, and like you said, the NCAA is not going to allow that, or
Right.
these even
That's what
governing
they
bodies
don't
of,
want to
of
do.
some of the
That's what they don't.
universities are not going to allow this,
Right.
because they want to control the revenue. They want to control the the spending and the money that flows in and out, because like it or not, slowly but surely, like you said, more power is being given to these kids, and right now they're taking advantage of it. And why wouldn't you? Like, you know, you have an opportunity to go play at 4 different schools in your college career, some people even however many, and make that kind of money, you know, you'd be stupid not to.
Mhm. Agreed. Agreed. And like I said, I'm all for, having some level of parameters and, having some rules and stuff that are involved in what's going on. The problem is that if you're going to do it, you have to actually enforce those rules for everybody, right? It's not just about enforcing them for Dabo or against Ole Miss or against enforcing them for Oklahoma or Texas or whatever. Everybody's all for all these rules that they keep trying to throw up against the wall and see if they stick, right? Until such time that all of a sudden, hey, we need a new linebacker. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
we
it's
agreed that
only
we're not going to do this.
when
We
it's
agreed with
convenient for them. Yeah.
correct. So, as long as they're going to continue doing that, look, it'd be one thing. It'd be yes, and am I going to sit here and tell you that players have not made mistakes? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. In fact,
Everybody
I
makes
think that a lot of times, but a lot of times that has to do with a lot of these players are getting poor advice, which is
Yes.
terrible, right?
We talked about it on our podcast a couple weeks ago. And I asked David because he coached at Oklahoma State. He was on the staff with Coach Gundy. He's been at Memphis with some really good coaches, and he said that a lot of this has to do with the circle that you're surrounding yourself with in some of
Sure.
these. Because now, not only do you have parents and uncles and whoever, but you've got agents, you've got people nipping at you, trying to get a little piece of the pie. You
No
know,
doubt about it. It's like,
and you
people
got to
talk
keep
about
the
AAU basketball and stuff like that, and
yeah.
there's
Well, you've got to
vultures
keep
out
the
there. They're
circle
out there. Yeah.
you got to keep the circle small, and that's what uh, DG was saying is you got to quit listening to all these people that just want to take advantage of you in the moment,
Mhm.
you know, and that's what some of these people are doing. And now there's some guys out there that get great advice that have good people in their corner, but
Sure.
hey, those days are long gone.
Dude,
Like,
this is crazy talk right here. Bevo's
yeah,
he's one of the big dummies that comes in here. It's ridiculous that
yeah.
I even have to, like,
I mean,
talk to this guy.
yes,
But
but let
to
me
be
ask you
honest, I
this.
mean, the money that is generated in college football tells you that it's worth a lot more than your free education and
Okay,
audition for the NFL.
let me ask you this, and I'm all for education. I was a high school football coach and teacher and all this other stuff, and I value education.
Sure.
But at the same time, these universities have no problem making millions and millions of dollars off of these athletes and saying the exact same thing. Now they're doing a lot better now with obviously NIL and stuff like that, but that
Right.
used to be the big thing is some of these kids like back in the 2000s, some of these guys were walking by shops and seeing their jersey in the window and
Yeah.
they couldn't get a piece of the profit. Like what's wrong with
Marcus Dent
that?
talks about it all the time, and I think Coach Sean from, one of the Alabama shows, they talk about it.
Yeah.
That there's an insurance company that, all of a sudden they're using a picture of, say, Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah.
And before, there wasn't NIL going on at that time, but they've got a picture of Jalen Hurts up on a billboard, promoting their insurance company, right? Jalen Hurts
Yep.
goes in and be like, I want some money off of this or take my name down. No, I don't have to. I don't have to do that shit. This is what was actually going on. No, there was nothing you could do about that if you're
Well,
Jalen Hurts, because
these
you're not
guys
allowed
couldn't
to
even
make
go get
money.
jobs. You couldn't even go get jobs in the off season. Like when I played college baseball, we couldn't go get jobs in the off season. It was against NCAA violations to have a job, and yet you couldn't even make enough money to put gas in your car. Like, come on, what's wrong with that? Like,
Right. Yeah, you
I'm
can't,
not
or
saying that
even
these
to have a
guys.
car?
Well, I'm not saying that these guys should make obscene amount of money like they're making now, but they should at least get a piece of what they're you know putting out there, the product that the athletes. Okay, let me ask you this: and do we go to games on Saturdays to watch the coaches walk around on the sideline? No. What are we
Right.
watching?
Yeah. I can catch or kick a
So these
ball and go to
coaches are
college for
making how
free,
much
come on.
money a year?
Brother, this is what a okay, you can catch or kick a ball and go to college for free. What about the coaches that are making tens of millions of dollars a year and flying
$14
around
million
in
dollars a
private
year to
jets and
coach college
helicopters
football.
and shit? Come
No
on,
coach should be
bro.
making $14 million a year to coach college football.
Yeah, dude,
It's
it's
absurd.
so crazy. Yeah, the Fab Five documentary, I love this one. They'd walk by a store full of their jerseys, they
Absolutely.
couldn't even buy McDonald's. Yeah, hey, dude,
Yeah.
I think that I love to hear, Jalen talk about that stuff from back in those
Yep.
days of the way that they did they're building the brand for Michigan and the Fab Five. They're building their brands, doing the Black Sox,
You wanna
doing all that other stuff,
you wanna
right?
know what I think of Michigan and the Fab Five? Here you go. You ready?
I don't, yeah, I can only imagine,
There
but, oh, there
there you
you
go.
go.
There you go.
Oh,
There's your
timeout
Fab
Weber.
Five right there.
At the end of the day, yeah, listen, I get it. At the end of the day, though,
I'm a big Duke basketball fan, by the
it
way.
was
Just
fun.
that
It
was
was,
just an easy.
yeah, but it was fair to say, like, you go back and you look at that stuff, you're like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
The money, and think about the NCAA tournament. Just the month of March alone is worth billions to the NCAA. That's
Huge.
supposedly a nonprofit. Where the hell's all this money going?
Yeah.
You know, and
And
again,
Owen Hine
do I love that there's no real, that you don't know who your team's going to be from year to year? I don't love that.
Yeah.
Would I like to see that, that they actually the thing about contracts though, some of these contracts that are out there, the schools aren't adhering to those contracts either. They're tearing them up too. So you can't just get pissed off at the players whenever they decide that they want to break that contract.
It's a broken system all the way around.
Yeah.
Like there's no one person you can point your finger at and say, "Hey, they're the problem," or "They're the problem," or "They're the problem." It's
Sure.
a collective. As funny as that is to say, because with NIL, it's a collective problem.
Yeah. The collective.
Everybody is part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And do I have a solution? Absolutely not. Like I don't know what that
I don't
looks
really
like.
know what the solution is either. I do know that the further you get away from, you might as well call them what they are, which is to some level of having an employee. They're an employee to some extent.
Yep. Well, you
And
have to have some kind of contractual obligation, just like we do at work. Like I
Absolutely.
can't, just go and
Yeah, well, it's like the
there's
high top guys, and these are they're some of my favorite dudes. But I was kind of at odds with them this morning. They're talking about this, and they're talking about not, like this one-time transfer rule. I think that's cool and all if you can make that stick, but they're never going to make that stick. And let's talk about why. You can't. Because just like with coaches, okay, so if let's say BV just came in this year, right?
Yeah.
He just came in this year. Hey, Jay, are you going to use your camera or not? Because I can just pull you on without it if you're not going to.
Hey, I could be
Okay.
I was going to answer a question. I'm good.
Good, brother. Let me hold on just a second. I don't have you on the screen just yet, but I'll just I was going to he popped out. All right, no, but at the end of the day, if BV was a brand new coach and he decided next year, let's say he wins this year big and somebody else wants to hire him. They wouldn't be able to tell him, you pay your buyout, whatever. They're not going to tell you that you can't go and you don't get to coach for a year. You got to sit out.
Nope.
You can't do it.
Nope.
At least, and if you're going to find a way to do that, then fine. But it has to be agreed upon by the guys, the other side of this, right? It can't just be one-sided. And again, I'm with you. I don't want to see all this moving around from year after year after year after year. I don't love it. And I don't think it's good for the players either. But the problem is that if you're not, you have to do the same thing for everybody. All right, Jay, I'm just gonna leave you off the camera, but we'll be able to hear you, bro. No, you should.
The road. But anyway, how you doing, man?
Doing good, brother. Doing good, man. We're just talking about all this. We're talking about all this stuff, the new rules and stuff that they're trying to enforce, and taking away, making a one-time transfer for model, or being able to go to. And this is the one I wanted to get both of you guys to talk about. Is you've got Cody Campbell in the Big 12 and ACC, and they're right now in the Big 12 Mafia, they're over there screaming and yelling about pooling all the media rights together and dishing that out evenly, from one entity, which is what Oklahoma fought about with Georgia. Well, that was what the Supreme Court thing was back in the 80s that allowed all this to explode, was opening up these TV rights, for each school, even for that matter, and they've to their conferences, so on and so forth. What do you guys think about all this talk? That, obviously the SEC and the Big Ten aren't going to allow that to go, just, lay down for it.
No.
But what are your thoughts of that? I don't know if we still have Jay or not. So go ahead, Drew.
Well, my thought, the whole thing began with when the TV right thing was going on in the 80s, everybody was trying to work it out. And then Notre Dame obviously goes over and just snags their exclusive rights to NBC. And that was where everybody just went in an uproar. So, I mean, and Notre Dame seems to think they can just make rules and do all this other stuff or whatever. And that's beside the point or anything like that. But that's how that whole thing got started, is Notre Dame went off and did their own thing with NBC, and they still are able to do that as well. So, but for me, I mean, it is what it is. I think everybody should have, their piece of the pie or whatever it is, depending on their conference. But I think that they should also, at the same time, be able to bring something to the table, like be more marketable or be.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Is
that is exactly how it worked, Dave. Notre Dame went out and got their own exclusive rights to NBC and left everybody else in the dust.
Well, but
That's
there
exactly
was
how
more
that
to
went
it than
down.
just it. What was going on though was that you had, so I don't even know who it was that was in charge of what was going to be on TV. You had 4 games a week going on
Yeah, you had
instead of every
and
game
everybody
every
else.
week
You
that we
might
get
get
now.
Oklahoma and Nebraska on every year or something like that, but every school was guaranteed a what. And then Notre Dame didn't like that, and they were like, "Well, we're just going to go over here and get signed up with NBC and have all of our games on TV."
Yeah, I don't know that it was NBC back at that time. I mean, I'm just
It
talking
was,
about right
yeah,
at the moment, what we're seeing right now. Yes, you've got media rights that were, if you look at the Big Ten, their brand
yep,
is built to the point that
sure.
it's the most
Well, yeah,
it's the
they got
richest
the deal
deal,
with
right?
Fox and all that stuff, yeah.
Sure.
And
You know
then
why that
and
is?
then
Because
the
more
SEC,
people wanna watch Ohio State and Michigan, or USC and Ohio State, or USC and Oregon, than they wanna watch the BYUs of the world and the Texas
yeah,
Techs of the world. I'm sorry, that's a fact. The
No,
same thing goes.
that's a fact. That's a fact. And we got deals now with Fox, CBS, and NBC.
That's right.
And
yep,
let's just keep it 100, man. Like Notre Dame is not they're no better than anybody else. And like I've
exactly.
been saying on my program, they need to join they need to be forced into a conference. And they made
Yep.
this big deal about not the media kind of came up with this little fabricated deal about USC not meeting Notre Dame, but we wanted to play them in week 0. You got to, and here's what people got to understand: our schedule this year, we play Indiana, we play Penn State, we play Ohio State, we play Oregon, we play
Mhm.
Washington. Notre Dame don't have to deal with that, and they want to put us at the bottom in the middle of Indiana, between Indiana and Ohio State. Are you kidding me? They need to play
Right.
us at week 0, because they'll be coming off of a Navy or a Ball State or somebody like that, opposed to what we're going through. And so, rightfully so, we want to get them at the beginning of the season, week 0, which we just coincidentally
Right.
put San Jose State there just yesterday. And so, they're no better than anybody else, man. They can't have their
No,
cake and eat it too.
and I'm not even really talking about that. My thing is like, my question is, and what I was just asking to Drew too, is like, look, I get what Cody Campbell's saying, but pulling all of these in a national pool from all these conferences and saying we're going to split it up evenly between them, that takes away the
Oh
incentive that
no,
the
no, no,
SEC and the
no.
Big Ten have
Right,
had,
right,
right? To
right.
build their brands into something that's the most, the most sought out, they get the best ratings. Why should they not make more money off of it? Look, I don't think that that's ever going to happen. It's not going to go through. I don't see how it could.
So where is this? What is this reasoning for wanting to do that?
They're
Parity
saying,
wise,
and this is
or
the funny part. They're saying that by pulling them all together, it'll be worth considerably more than it is for each one of them singled out. Well, I guess you could say that's true because you're adding them all together. If you add the SEC and the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12, then yeah, it's worth more than the Big Ten's deal with Fox is. Duh. Right? But the point is, so you're going to say that the Big Ten, which, what is it? What is the deal? Like 10 billion? Some shit like that?
it's like
7 to
I
10
can't remember.
billion?
It's divided. It's something crazy to where we all get like 100 million, 100
Right,
million. But I think Oregon and Washington, they only get, because they came in later than us
right,
and UCLA. They only get
right.
partial the part
Well,
of the
and that's the
deal.
same. That's the
Until the
same thing
next
with
time around.
with Oklahoma and Texas. The first
Right.
couple years they were in, they only get a certain, and then now it's going to be
Now they get a
everybody
full
gets a piece
share
of
as
the
well.
pie
Correct.
in the SEC. Yeah, yep,
But the point is like, so, I mean, we see what the ACC and the Big 12 are worth alone without these other
yep.
big brands, right? Now, do I think it's all fair the way it all went down? Not necessarily, but again, fair is where you go judge pigs. I don't want to hear about fair. At the end of the day, you have to talk about, look, what the SEC and what the Big Ten are worth in comparison to those other leagues. Why would
Yeah,
they ever be okay with giving up more money to these other leagues that aren't, they're trying to take care of their own schools, right? And there's no way
Yeah.
they're going to do that. And again, this is exactly what brought on that
Well,
uh
and
man, that
Supreme
makes it really it makes absolutely it makes absolutely no sense. That's like the owner of Walmart saying that, look, we're gonna go give partial share and equal opportunity to Dollar General or Family Dollar. You know what I mean? It's like
Yep.
how
It's
you know you
Well,
all
un-American.
sell
it's
It's
products,
completely
but
un-American.
let's ask this question: which conferences are making the most money? The Big Ten and the SEC by far, and now the
Right.
Big 12 is the third team at the table, and they're wanting the big piece of the steak when they only deserve the smaller piece. I'm not saying that they're a weak conference or they're not worthy of any money, but who's making the money? Who's watching the most games out there? The fans. They're
Yeah.
not watching. I mean, other than the marquee
well,
games,
well, hey,
the Big 12
I'm
championship.
gonna go ahead and say it. I think they're a weak conference. You know, look what Texas.
They are
If Texas
a
Tech had to
weaker
play
conference. There's no
in
doubt.
our conference this year, yeah.
Well,
If they had to play our conference, if our schedule this year,
look what happened when they played Oregon.
Right.
exactly, they couldn't even put up. I mean, USC put up. We were at Oregon and put up 27 or 30 points on them. They couldn't even
And that's
score
the money. And
anything,
they
man.
spent more money. That's the team in the Big 12 that spent the most money to compete, and they couldn't even,
It's
Right.
put up a
But
touchdown.
like Jay was saying is, all right. Say I'm just a store employee at Walmart, and I'm coming to the table and I'm saying, well, I expect to get paid the same as the CEO of Walmart. That's insane.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy, man. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, man. And the ratings, the TV ratings speak for themselves. And like you said, Jay, you look at certain games, man, and you look at the games that were the most viewership this year. I had a list, man. I need to go back and get it. I'm driving right now, so I can't. But they had the
Yeah.
most viewership, and it was those, like you said, the SEC and the Big Ten. Those schools were dominating viewership, man. I don't even remember even seeing ACC teams or Big 12 teams on that list. It was dominated by the SEC and the Big Ten.
Right. And if there was maybe one or two games. My camera's acting screwy on me, but I'm still here. But no, yeah, if it was maybe like the Holy War with
So
Utah and
I've got
BYU maybe or something like that.
here's the top 10 most watched games of the 25-26 season. Number 1, obviously the national championship. Yes, of course. Number 2, Indiana Alabama, the semifinal. Alabama, Ohio State, or Miami, Ohio State. Then you get into some of these regular season games:
Right.
Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn. Okay, and then you've got Notre Dame down at the bottom of the list.
Right.
Right.
Oklahoma, Texas is going to be up there somewhere in
Yes,
the top
Oklahoma,
15
Texas
or
is going to
20.
be yeah. But
Yeah.
these are all you're talking about. 16 million people watching this game, compared to 3 or 4 million watching the game.
Right.
Like
And
nobody wants to see
like
it, like
Notre
you
Dame,
said.
when Notre Dame plays USC, yeah, it brings a lot of people are watching that. You got the Northeast. The reason
Yeah.
that the reason that Notre Dame has preferential treatment is because they bring eyeballs too. That's the
Well,
point.
that and they have the exclude. Their every one of their games is on TV anyway.
Sure, no doubt about it. But all I'm saying is that I'm not getting into the argument between SC and Notre Dame. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm saying that
No.
at the end of the day, there's a reason why these programs do get your preferential treatment. They've built brands that demand eyes and bring money to
Absolutely.
the table. So they're not going to.
Well, like
Again, they're not.
Bevo
They
just said
shouldn't
in the
give up
comments.
the lion's share.
Well, Bevo just said in the comments, and I agree with you now. Nobody's excited to see Cincinnati and West Virginia on a Thursday night.
Scott Walker, if Oklahoma was still in the Big 12, they wouldn't be sucking hind tit on the amount of money that they're making in the Big 12.
Well, who made the most money for the Big 12 when they were in the conference? What two teams?
Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, Texas. It wasn't even close. Texas and Oklahoma.
50% of the league revenue came from Texas and Oklahoma.
And that's why they had to go out and get these other teams to 4 or 5 other teams to fill what, and they're still not even close.
Yep.
That's why they had to go get Cincinnati and BYU and Utah and Colorado and
listen,
all these
I
other
love
teams.
college sports. I love college football. In fact, I like BYU and Utah. I love those programs because it's part of the fabric of this game. At the end of the day, either if you're going to go, if they're going to really go to a full NFL model, that is going to be the decision of the colleges themselves. And look, There's a reason why that they've built it up like this. Look, they make the most money because they want to make the most money. And they've taken year on year on year of caring about promoting their athletic departments so that it helps their schools in so many ways. I mean, don't get it twisted. What is the reason for college sports to begin with? The reason that college sports were put up there, it's the front porch of your university, and it drives up enrollment, which is where they get the most money from.
When your school has a good football season, the whole rest of the year is on a bigger trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So much revenue comes in for that.
Yeah.
When you're talking blue blood stuff, when you're talking brands like Oklahoma, Texas, USC, even Notre Dame has got a big brand. Yes, and Alabama and Ohio State and these blue blood programs, they're generating the most money.
Right. Oregon.
And it's not coming
I mean,
from
SC's been generating huge amounts of money forever.
Yes.
Forever. I mean, not only that, we're part of, and that's what a lot of people don't understand too about the Big Ten. The Big Ten, a good part of generating the money is being a part of the research aspect of it, which is, and that's a whole other thing that drives a whole lot of money. But that's a part of the conference. But that conference as a whole, and I don't know if you guys realize this, but the Big Ten may be leading right now, the SEC right now, as far as generating the money. You guys aware of that?
Yeah, they are. It's by a negligible amount as compared to the other two power conferences, but they're ahead. They've got more money at those schools. There's no two ways around it.
Have the last 3 national champions come out of the Big Ten.
That has something to do with it as well.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yep.
It does.
Right.
When you've got the number one game in college football, which is the game, Ohio State and Michigan, not as many people watch any other game in college football other than Ohio State, Michigan. That's a fact.
It was the highest rated regular season game this year because it's number 4 on the total list.
Yep. Probably 100
and
years.
It's 15.4 million people watched that game this year.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that myself. We played Michigan this year, but I didn't even realize that was the highest rated game.
Ohio State,
highest
Michigan
rated regular season, and then the only 3 that are
is.
ahead are the national championship and the 2 quarterfinal games this year.
Which and then especially whenever they're really good, the Iron Bowl is going to be right up there with it.
Absolutely.
We've had years where whenever Oklahoma and Texas are both near the top, then the Red River game is right up there. And of course, the Red River, they don't share the same weekend with those other 2 schools either. So you're going to get a lot of eyes on that game, right?
Sure.
So that definitely helps that one as well.
They're also in those prime spots. Like, we've never played the Red River at night because nobody wants to go gallivanting around the fair because that's as sketchy as it is, whatever. But it's always been a noon or now in the SEC it's been a 2:00, 2:30 game. But for the most part, it was the first game on TV on that Saturday.
That's right.
So everybody, and then you had your big SEC 2:30 game back in the day. So it was boom, and then you go to your big SEC game, and then you had the nightcap with whoever it was, and so
whatever the best game was that ESPN owned or whatever. Yeah. At the end of the day, you can't. I think that it's weird that we're having these conversations because I don't see that they're ever going to go back on. This is not even just that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to kick and scream about it because they should, but because there was an actual Supreme Court ruling that said that you cannot do that. You're not going to pull all these conferences and every school together as one entity and split it evenly. That's not the way things are in this country. And there's a ruling on that. So I don't really see that changing. Let me change gears real quick. Let's talk about this other deal that they're talking about. Tampering. I think we all hate tampering. I don't think that there's a person in college football that's a fan of any program that likes it when their best players get tampered with by another school willing to pay more money. But I would ask you this. They basically, I just got done reading it for the rest of the audience a few minutes ago, talking about that in 2024, while they were waiting for the House settlement to go through, they knowingly and willingly paused any type of, being able to do anything about it, right? They basically said, we're not going to really emphasize that, or, we're not going to, well, let me go back to, what am I thinking here? They're not going to give the penalties out. They basically paused penalizing these schools for tampering, basically making it okay to do it. How is it that do you believe that now the NCAA can just, okay, now that we're here, we're going to flip the switch here, and now we're going to start penalizing everybody when everybody is tampering? I don't care who you are, whoever you may follow, they've all tampered.
What's crazy is, and I think I got my avatar up now. It's able to get in there. It took me a minute, but I think, man, when you hear Dabo Swinney crying, with the situation that happened with the player from Cal, the linebacker, and he I guess apparently while he was in class allegedly was supposedly called by the Ole Miss coach, and you hear things like that. Yeah, but here's the thing though. I deal a lot with recruits. I be having a lot of recruits on my channel, and I can tell you all kinds of things, man. And I'm gonna say everybody's doing it. You remember when Nick Saban got up there, literally doing, I think it was the draft, and they were talking about a kid from Toledo, and I specifically remember Coach Nick Saban getting up there, and he said, yeah, we tried to get this guy, but he wasn't in the portal yet, and he was out of Toledo. And I'm like, he just blatantly on national television admitting to tampering, but the guy was still, he wanted to stay at Toledo. And so it's like, and this was before Nick Saban even left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know the exact story you're talking about. I know exactly.
Exactly.
It's
go
wild,
ahead.
Right?
I got some stories from, as in my days of coaching high school football and stuff like that. I've built relationships with a lot of coaches around the country, stuff like that too. Sure. Trust me, I could call out some stories and some different stuff. It happens everywhere. Like,
well, and the thing is,
as long as we are keeping score, it is going to happen.
Well, absolutely. And as long as I think that's a great statement. As long as you're keeping score, they're going to do it. And here's the thing. I think what people are so upset about is that, because at least before, Pete Golding wouldn't have been the one to make that phone call or to send that text message. It would have been another player, or, he talks to an agent or something like that, and nobody hears about it. Right. But that's what I was saying about Nick Saban earlier. Like, they're talking about this roundtable. Tiger Woods going to be on it, along with Nick Saban. And like,
man, that is so crazy.
I don't care about what they think about college sports at this point, because
here's the thing. At least they're coming to the table with their grievances. That's where it starts first.
Okay,
so
that's
I
fine.
agree. Whatever we can do to get people together to talk about this, but come up with a solution. Get the right people in the room.
Okay.
And however you want to do it, but like, and certain people shouldn't, like Tiger Woods has it's not college football.
What does he have to say about it? And the thing about Nick is, I got to tell you, as much as I agree that Nick's the GOAT, I'll give you that.
He's the GOAT, but Dabble, not Dabble. What's the former coach for Texas A&M? He had it right. Yeah, he called him out. Jimbo. He had it right. Yeah, Jimbo. Yeah, he had it right about him. He said, "Don't forget about that stuff what you did." This is not verbatim at LSU, but he said because he knows
what LSU at Alabama also.
Absolutely.
The reason that Nick is no longer coaching is because he doesn't have the advantage anymore where he could play.
That's a fact. That's facts.
Players, and that's what I hate hearing from guys like that, because again, I respect Nick Saban to an extent. But the problem that I have with it is that you're acting like this is all bad for everybody else. Look, I'll give you that you allowed players that they built, like he likes to say all the time, we helped players build value for themselves moving forward. Okay, great, Nick. You also built your own value by stacking players years deep into your roster. And there were rules in place that you made sure stayed in place, that if they were going to leave, they could not go to an SEC school and hurt your program. That's the thing. Now I don't care that you don't like it that the players are now making money and have some level of power in what's going on. I just don't.
Well,
I think it's weird to hear it from him.
He is for, and I'll say this about him: he is for letting players get paid. Like he's not opposed to that. But let's not only put the blame on Nick Saban. Let's talk about some other coaches that were doing the same thing. Urban Meyer, your boy Pete Carroll back in the day.
Dabo
Let's not be
Swinney.
naive and say
It wasn't. The thing about it. It wasn't. My co-host that comes on with me. He plays on the national championship team. You know him, Jay Walk. He
Yeah,
told me
J-Walk.
that he played with Reggie Bush on that team.
Right.
Pete Carroll had nothing to do. Reggie Bush didn't have nothing to do with it. It was his stepdad who did it was a. Well, I'm not even gonna get into that because anything I say
At the end
can't.
of the
there
day,
was also some other things that were going on that Pete Carroll knew about that he kind of let, and all the other coaches were like that
though.
too.
If
It
we're
wasn't
gonna
just
do
Pete
that, then we
Carroll.
also got to say that are we gonna act like Adrian Peterson wasn't getting paid when he was at
Exactly.
Oklahoma?
No, I'm saying.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I see. And back in the day, and you guys remember Saturday Night Down South, the magazine, the site, Saturday Night Down South. You remember the story that came out that had the running back from Florida that admitted that he went to Georgia, got $25,000, and Fred Taylor, and still went to Florida, even
Yeah.
after taking that money from.
Urban
I mean,
Urban
yeah.
Meyer was probably one of the shadiest dudes doing some stuff.
Well, I
No
don't
doubt.
think this was under
Well,
was
this
under
was
the former South
Spurrier.
Carolina. Yeah, Spurrier. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
it was they call it the brown bag handshake. So this stuff was going on
Bill Fulmer
for
was in on
years.
that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
This has been going
Yeah.
on for as long as college
Absolutely.
sports have been around, man. The
Yeah.
bag man, why do we know who the bag man is? Because the shit's been going on for 50 years.
Yeah. And that's why I said it's not all Nick Saban.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And that's not, I wasn't, but the point I'm making is like,
Sure.
on top of that, he's sitting at ESPN making more money than he was making at Alabama to sit and bitch about college football. And we want him to be the commissioner of college football. No, we don't. No, we
No,
don't.
that's the wrong. That's insane. That's insane. Yeah, that'd be absolutely crazy, man. I just think that's. I mean, for him to even be on that. But you guys remember before he even left, he was trying to go up there to Congress with Greg Sankey to try to get things adjusted, if you will. But I guess the fact that he didn't, and that
you saw how quick he backed off of that.
yeah. Well, he had to because Jimbo started coming out with all kinds. He accused Jimbo, and I think was it Coach Prime. he accused both of them of doing some stuff. So.
Well, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway.
let's not get it twisted. Jimbo did buy his entire team that year, and guess what? It wasn't against the rules.
Absolutely, he did. He
So
did.
Jimbo sitting up there
He
screaming
did.
sliced bread all day didn't really move me either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and act like he wasn't part of the problem, and Dabo wasn't part of the problem, and everybody that's involved,
like,
Urban and all those guys that we talked
throwing
about.
stones at a glass house. That's what they're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. And as an Oklahoma fan, I mean, shit, Switzer was the king of this stuff.
Right.
Well, let's not forget SMU in the 80s. Like, the governor was freaking a part of what they were doing.
Yeah, all that oil
Right.
money, bro. Yeah, dude. And like right now, we're talking about, I mean, there's the revenue share, the $20.5 million revenue share that we shall not remember how many of these commissioners and ADs like Joe C and those guys saying we can't go over. We're not going to do that. We need to not try to break the rules as we do this. And how long did that last? 10 minutes? Because Texas still spent $40 million last year. Oklahoma wasn't that far behind it. Neither was anybody that competed for a national championship this year. Nobody, including Indiana. There's money being spent. So now you got 10, 12, 15 programs that are going to spend $40 million plus this year on their roster. And supposedly that's against the rules, but nobody cares. How can we go after these athletes about how much they want when there's nobody policing the schools and the coaches and everybody else that's involved in trying to buy these championships to begin with?
Exactly. Well, and whatever the case is, there has to be some type, just like the NFL, there has to be some type of salary cap put on these teams. There has to be. And if you go over the salary cap, just like in the NFL, hey, you got to pay, a penalty, or you got to go lesser in the cap next year, or
Well, I
whatever the
think
case is.
I think so. So when you say salary cap, are you referring to the revenue share aspect? Because the NIL is different from the
Yeah, no,
revenue
I'm
share.
talking about the
That's
way
not
you
according
build
to their.
rosters, like he was saying. The the
Not
Right,
the, the
right.
according to the
maximum
CSC. The
you can
rules
pay
that they
your
tried to
total
put in with
team.
the House settlement said that NIL would count towards that
Yep.
rev share,
Well,
and
see,
that
that
was
doesn't.
which was unfair to begin with. That was
Well,
bullshit
that
to
doesn't.
begin with.
Well, so if we had Caleb Williams, the way his name ring bells, he got
Sure.
paid more money because his name, image, and likeness ring more bells.
Of
So
Sure.
course,
I don't think everybody's in the same category as it relates to that because you got to think NFL has contracts that are structured based on the value of that individual player, right?
And that's how
So
it should be in college football.
right. So if a player has more value than another player, I mean, you gotta. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could say a cap, but how you gonna cap? How you gonna cap the NIL aspect of it where the
you
revenue
can't.
share is not the
You
same?
can't.
I don't think you can.
You can cap rev
No,
share.
but you're
You
not.
can, and they
But
will.
you're at the same time, you're not limiting the players on what they can make. You're just limiting the schools on what they can. Not cast a wide net and go get like Oklahoma State and go get 25 players from the same school to come over and if you can pay them, sure. But if not, yeah,
If you're gonna stop that, the only way to actually cap it and like fairly cap it would be that like what they tried to do before and then it didn't happen. But you talked about collectives earlier. If there's collectives, then it's never going to be fair because people are always going to cheat.
yep, it's always
They're
going to
always going
happen,
to
no
cheat.
matter
So
what
And
the
I
I
mean,
NFL
hey
says.
hey
that's the
hey
problem. If you have
I
an
haven't even heard
actual
that word collective. I haven't heard that word collective in a long time. Have you?
right, but they're
I mean,
still
like
there.
that
They're still there.
yeah, I
And
know,
if they're not still
right,
there,
right.
they're using like Learfield. Learfield's taking over basically the entire SEC's marketing and television rights stuff, and they're doing all their content and everything else. But they're
Yeah,
in it.
we have that too.
Yeah. So how do they do that? That they get aside that even if they're allowing collectives, but it's not the same. But essentially what they're doing is okay, you want to spend more money on this guy. Okay, cool. We'll have him come and do this show and this show and this show for us, and that'll make up that money. Then that way it's for something, right? So that it would pass the smell test of
Well,
the CSC if that mattered at this point.
well,
It doesn't, but let's
here's a
just
lot
say
of
it did.
here's a lot of stuff that people don't understand. When they see the dollar amount, say, so and so makes $3 million a year to play at this school. Well, it's not all money. It's not all cash. It's a package deal. Whether you're getting a car, whether you're getting a housing allowance, whether you're getting all this. So not of all of that money is necessarily cash straight into their pocket. It is a
Right.
package that the school is putting together for these guys. Whether, hey, we're going to give you this house and it's worth this much. These cars, it's worth this much. Then you're going to get this for the cash value, stuff like that. And so a lot of times people think, oh, they're just getting $3 million in straight cash. No, it's a package type of deal that these guys are getting.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah, and I think it's kind of different. It kind of varies too, wherever at different location, whatever
Well, and like you said, it
school you
depends on
may
the
be at.
player. Like Caleb Williams is
Yeah,
going to get more money than
of course,
a
and
third string whoever, and that's fair. That's
that's like
absolutely
Patrick
fair.
Mahomes that having all the endorsements that he has in the NFL, right? You're not going to tell how much. You're not going to tell anybody how much money Patrick Mahomes can make. You're not. I
I
mean,
like that. I like that word you use, endorsements, because that's how I equate NIL, name, image, and
but
likeness.
that's
You're
not
gonna
what
get
it
more
is.
endorsements,
The problem is that's not what it really is. It stopped being that a long time ago at the college level. That's the issue. And
but you
and there
can't. But they can't prove it though. How can they prove
Well,
it?
the
You know what I
problem is
mean?
that
this
these
all goes back
the
to what I'm saying,
universities
though,
are
Jay.
trying to control everything.
If you're gonna say that if you're gonna try to have it be correct, you would have to have it to where you don't have collectives and you don't have them being paid by some company that works with the school, has a contract with the school, and then they're hiring them because that just leads to impropriety. If it's an actual brand that wants to use your player, like a Caleb Williams, like you start looking at like Arch Manning, for instance. Arch Manning's the most marketable kid in college football right now. No two ways around it, right? So he does, and by the way, he doesn't take $1 in NIL from Texas. It all comes from brands that he actually represents.
Right. So but those brands in turn want to attach themselves to him.
Those are few and far between, Jay. Those guys are not. It's not everybody that's like that.
No,
it's not. It's definitely not. Well, Jay, I got to get out of here. Hey, man, good talking to you guys, man. Jay, I need to get with you on this setup, man, because I'm getting away from StreamYard. I like this, man. They got other stuff going on. So anyway,
okay.
I appreciate you, man.
Thanks for coming.
All right,
man.
man.
We appreciate you.
All right, you guys take care. All right,
bro. USCJ from the USCJ College Football Show over on YouTube as well, man. He's killing it lately, man. He's his show's on all the time. He does a lot of live streams, a lot of short videos, but his subscriber base continues to grow, and got a lot of respect for that dude. He's a hard worker. Even though
a lot of good stuff.
He knows I hate SC and Lincoln, and I know how he feels about Oklahoma. I got love for SCJ.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with the guys that know what they're talking about. Like, and he's good. Like he's solid.
Yeah. Monty Cisco, what's up, my guy? He says, how can a collective happen without a players union? There's too many loopholes. Absolutely. And that's the point. A lot of these things that, I think that first of all, I want everybody to get away from the idea that college football and college sports are dead, or that, that they're going to go away, because they're not. There's more money being made right now than ever before. So that the demise of college sports is greatly exaggerated, number one. Number two, don't get into believing all the shit that you hear from the quote unquote grown-ups in the room. A lot of this stuff is bullshit. And until you actually go in and give the players, who are the ones that generate all the revenue, the money is not generated because Nick Saban can coach. It's generated because he can coach players like he had, right? Those guys are generating the money. Until they have something to do with these rules, you're going to continue to have this craziness. And it's really going to get worse.
Yep.
It's way too big to fail. Absolutely. This is a perfect thing to say.
Yeah. I mean,
why do you not like USCJ? Just because he's a USC guy? Listen, I get it. A lot of his audience, they hate my ass whenever I go on his show too.
One guy that I really like, and I had him on our show a couple of weeks ago, CJ Vogel of On Texas Football.
CJ,
and CJ's great. I love CJ. Me and him talk a lot about stuff.
He's a good dude.
And has nothing to do with OU and Texas and everything like that. It's conversations that we have like this. That guys, I just like hearing from guys that have, those kind of, ways.
It'd be boring if we didn't have guys that disagreed with us. If you didn't have guys that disagreed with anything you said, what a fucking show is that?
Yeah.
What kind of show is that?
I hate to say it. Even though CJ's a big Texas guy, I love CJ Vogel, man. He knows his
solid
stuff. Like,
he is. I mean, look, I see him on he goes on Twitter and gets into it with Oklahoma fans all the time. I get it why they don't like him. That's cool. But he also, I watch him as a content creator. I watch the way he works, and I think he's very good at what he does. Very good at what he does.
Oh, he's good. We're gonna try to do.
He's not catch.
No, he's just gonna. He's a lot like Josh Pate, where Josh Pate's just gonna come out and tell it like it is, and if you don't like it, that's okay. Like, we can disagree. Like, it's okay. Not everybody has to like OU. Not everybody has to like USC. Not every. Yeah, no kidding.
That's what's beautiful about college sports, right there, is the hatred.
Great, Monty. It's
built on hate, baby. It's built on hate. I can't imagine how Rhett Bomar feels watching all this. I can't imagine how Rhett Bomar feels watching all this. You know exactly how he feels, Monty. You know damn well how Rhett's feeling about all of that.
I have a lot of friends and stuff like that, and back in the day that we were always like, hey, man, I wish we could have got some NIL and everything like that, because it was, it's crazy, because you would think about like Johnny Manziel or some of these guys, how much money they would have made off of NIL.
Well, and Johnny did make a lot of money, and it was,
He
But
did.
if he was able to do it out in the front and not having to like just go sign footballs for the weekend and do stuff like
Oh,
that, yeah, he would have
he
made a
had
shit
his
ton of money,
after
man.
hours deals.
Much more money that he would have made, much
Yeah,
more.
100%
Because he was,
Cam
I mean,
Newton,
he had to
like,
do it. He had to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was behind closed doors kind of stuff. And so, but he was still able to do it. But at the end of the day, that guy knew how to use and leverage social media back before most people did.
Sure.
You know, Johnny Football, and you know what? Right, good for him that he did make the money. He deserved it. People were watching. You want to talk about? Look, I can tell you that I've watched less and less A&M football since he left. You know, I
Well, I
mean,
watch less and less A&M football because I don't like A&M football.
I don't like A&M either. But that's the point. It's but
Oh,
like
I
Johnny
watched the
Football
heck
was
out of
fun to
Johnny
watch.
Manziel,
Johnny
because I'm
Football
like,
was
"What's
must
he
see
gonna do
TV.
next?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was must see TV, bro.
Like, and you can even relate it to a little bit of Diego Pavia. A lot of people wanted to just see him fail. That's why they watched him, or they wanted to see him, succeed, or whatever it is. There's always got to be a villain. There's always got to be somebody that you don't like, and that's
I don't
what
know
makes
how you
college
could hate
football the
Diego
way it is.
Pavia, man. What a
I
great
don't
dude.
like him. I can't stand him.
I understand that people don't love the things that he says, but his
But hey, go
story is
to
pretty
you.
cool. His
Hey,
story
yeah,
is cool though, that where he came
sure.
from and how he, you know,
Yep.
to bring Vandy. I mean, shit, I love Diego. Love
Yeah.
that dude.
No,
But he is
I don't
wild. He's definitely
I don't
wild.
really
The way
like
that he acted
but I
after the
respect it.
Heisman
I
was
respect the grind. I respect what he did. Like,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, after the Heisman stuff, somebody should have gotten a hold of him and shut him up.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff was, I think.
Yeah,
But
I get it.
also, that him, or was that him trying to build more of his brand and more of his kind of bravado or whatever it was? You never
I think
really
he's
know.
trying to get into the league. I don't know that he helped himself. I think he was trying to get himself
Sure.
into the league. I don't think he really helped.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, yeah, I think that you need, again, we talked about this right when you got on here. Not all these guys. I mean, I go back to I think about what was the dude from Georgia? We always talk about him. The big defensive lineman that went to SC and then he went to Oregon, and I don't know where the hell he's at now.
Oh, gosh, dang it.
I don't know why I'm Bosworth the
blanking?
Prophet. But at the end of the day, I mean, the guy has had the worst.
Chat, help us out if you know it. Like, I
Yeah, you
can't. I
guys
don't
know
know
who I'm
why I
talking
can't.
about. The big D line guy. Bear.
Oh, Bear Alexander. Yep.
Bear Alexander. Yeah, Bear
Yeah.
Alexander.
Yeah.
So,
Golly.
I mean, look, I mean, a lot of people, it's easy to just default and be like, that kid sucks. You know what I mean? You know what? That kid got terrible advice. Terrible advice.
Well, and so did
And he
Caden
had
Green.
vultures hanging around him for every extra dollar he could squeeze. So he pissed off everybody everywhere he went because those vultures that they don't know shit. They're just trying to get whatever they could get off of him. And he probably made his career go away because of it. And this is a guy that should have been in the NFL for 15 years, probably.
Another example, Caden Green at Missouri, when he went to Missouri, left Oklahoma, went to Missouri. He had some bad advice as well, too. These guys are, everybody is trying to suckle at the power teat and the money
Absolutely.
teat.
Yeah, it's like we talk about the AAU stuff, and I mean, I like all the smoke guys on YouTube with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, and they talk about they were talking. I watched one recently. Somebody was asking him about some of the coaches at the lower level, and he's like, "Man, most of them suck."
Yeah,
he goes, "They don't care about these kids. They care about what they can do for themselves, and that's what scares me is that you don't always get the right dudes." You don't always get the right guys helping them. And so the best thing that you can do is really pay attention to that, because these guys that and some of them may be really about the players. I mean, you don't want to lump them all into the same boat, but the problem is that
there's always bad eggs out there that make the whole basket, rotten.
Absolutely. But I look at a guy like you that it's your profession to be a coach. You've been a coach and a teacher. So, and you care about athletes. I know you do. My granddad, Hall of Fame high school coach back in the day. I know that he cared about athletes. His athletes loved him too. When his back workshop opened in the backyard of the house, all of his track kids were there all the time. All the time. I mean, and so you know good coaches, you know bad ones, and you know good and bad actors. That's the problem, is that it's not
Well,
just those guys, but it's also the organizations that are supposedly for athletes and for collegiate sports that
and
sucks.
that's
It's
why we
just
said
nasty.
a little bit ago. We also said, and you guys could go. And this is not a plug on my podcast at all or whatever, but we talked about the same stuff over on the Huddle Up podcast, um, which me and my
Plug it,
co-host
dude. I
David
don't mind
Glidden.
you plugging your show on here at all.
So I host the Huddle Up podcast. It's a football podcast. We just kind of got it rolling again. We only have 122 subscribers, but we're trying to launch this thing and get it going. So if you guys want to go over to YouTube and subscribe to, I'll put it in the chat if I can, or we can throw it in there. I'll send it to Jason. He can put it in there. But
Yo,
we talk about this stuff all the time. And then David Glidden, my co-host, who played football at Oklahoma State, and then he got a little bit of time with the Atlanta Falcons, and everything like that. He talked about the same thing, and keeping your circle small and getting the
right.
advice where it should be getting, from your parents, from your people that you trust, from your high school coaches, from whoever that small circle is, and making sure you're making the right decisions, because it has a huge impact on your future. Like, and some of these guys, you're getting the wrong advice from other people, and it can be damaging to some of these guys, like a Bear Alexander, like a Caden Green, like some of these guys. They were set to make millions and millions of dollars, but their path is
Yeah,
drastically changed because they're listening to the wrong people.
what was the other edge guy that we thought we had, and then he ended up at Mizzou, but only lasted a year there, and then he went to Nebraska. Same thing.
Yep.
Same thing with him. And that was his parents.
Yeah.
That was his parents.
Oh yeah, and you could be getting bad advice from your parents. Trust me,
All day long.
I've seen it.
All day long.
And I'm not going to be the one sitting there saying, "Hey, don't listen to your dad," or "No, hey, don't
You
listen to your
can't do
mom."
that. That's
I
the
think you have
problem.
to have the
You can't do
discernment
that.
and the. I think you have to have the discernment and the wisdom to know, take it with a grain of salt, or whatever the case is. But there's good advice out there. There's people that, yeah, exactly. That is Monty. That is spot on, dude. Just because you're a
Marcus
reverend,
Ben
just
will tell you
because you're a
about that all
pastor,
day. I mean,
yeah,
I'm in Mississippi right now, and I've met Marcus Dupree, and Marcus is
yeah,
related to him through marriage. Marcus Dupree, I mean, he lost his career basically because of
and fairly,
dumbass people that were telling him the wrong things.
yep,
And part of that, I mean, Switzer admitted that he was part of the problem too.
sure. But he listened. Ken Fairley, a pastor, a
Williams
reverend,
Nwaneri. Kim
like
Fairley, that's the dude. Yep.
like
That dude ended up going to prison later on, right?
And
And
here was the crazy thing. This is when and I've watched that 30 for 30, this great 30 for 30. And here
it
was
is.
when the light bulb went off for Marcus, when he said his grandma asked him for some money, or his mom asked him for some money, and he goes, "Well, I got to go talk to Ken." And then his mom's like, "Well, it's your money. Why do you got to go talk to Ken about it?" And then that was when the light bulb went off, and Marcus had to pay like some sum of money to keep himself out of jail, because this
Yeah.
dude was making shady deals behind his back with his own money. Like,
Yeah.
it was
That's why he
crazy.
ended up in the USFL before. I mean, he was
It
still a
was a sad, and
freshman.
I'm glad that he ended up getting a chance at the NFL and everything like that, but he obviously wasn't the same, and it's just a heartbreak. But, Marcus will tell you to this day, he lived and learned, he's got a lot of wisdom from it, and he shares it with
Oh, yeah, dude. Marcus
with people
Dupree's
all the time.
I'm glad that more of the story got out because of that,
Yeah.
and it continues to get out because of social media. This is the beautiful thing about it, is that we're getting more of these stories, more of the full picture of some of the things that have happened throughout sports, and we just thought it was this, thought it was that. I'd love to get more on the Rhett Bomar stuff. I know we probably know more about it than a lot of people do, but there's a lot of shit that went down with Rhett Bomar that wasn't necessarily his fault. It wasn't. And I know that the way that it was framed by Coach Stoops and everybody else whenever he left and had to leave, but that doesn't mean that that's correct. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying anything bad about Stoops before anybody gets pissed off. I'm just saying there were some things that there were more than one person that screwed that shit up, that it wasn't just Rhett Bomar that he didn't do what he was supposed to do there. And look, when you've been being treated, like that special guy. They're the quarterback, and you're that
Yep.
dude for all that time. Yeah, I popped that up there, the YouTube channel already twice, so
Yeah.
we're there. But yeah, I mean, guys, just understand that that's why you want to know why I'm always going to be pro on the side of the athlete. This is why. This is why I'm never going to take the side of the school, even Oklahoma. I'm not doing it. Because I know I've covered this sport for long enough. 20 years I've been watching shit go on.
Sure.
From Texas Tech to throughout the Big 12, Mountain West, SEC. I've seen it everywhere, and it's shady at every level.
I am more towards the middle. You know, I'm kind of in between when it comes to because there's both sides that
I've never said that the kids don't make mistakes. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm with you, but I've seen it on both sides. You know, and not everybody gets it right. Whether you're the school, whether you're the coach, or whether you're the athlete. And so I think that, you know, as long as you have two sides that are willing to, I don't want to say negotiate because that's not really the right word, but to compromise and be able to have a happy marriage, then that's when you see things work out for the best. But when you see one side or the other trying to, you know, get what's rightfully theirs, whatever it is, you're not going to see it turn out well.
Yeah. So it's at the Huddle Up Pod 1.
Yep, that's the YouTube.
I thought. Let's see.
It's weird because I've had to. There's a few other ones that are, and so I had to make it a specific.
I may have put the wrong one then, guys.
No, you're good. That's why I was like, I had to go search it too because I forgot what it was.
Let me make sure. Because I was like, I knew I was like that's right. I just subscribed to that one, so this is the right one. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, make sure that you get over there and check it out. You know, he's got connections to a lot of good guests, and Drew's always done a good job. Done so much with Jay and myself and K. Chris. I mean, we've done a lot of work with him. This is my 4th year, man. I was working with you in year 1.
Yep. And so we're lining up some. I'll just say this: we're lining up a few former college football coaches to come on here in the next couple of weeks.
Cool.
One could be from the state of Oklahoma who recently just had a job. I'll just say that. So
I like it. Mike Gundy? Could it be Mike Gundy?
But yeah. Anyway, but no, we just enjoy talking sports, and then we even do like a little. We're gonna start doing a little Thunder segment as well because we like Thunder basketball. So we're gonna kind of sprinkle that in with some of our college football talk and football stuff, but we like to talk Thunder, you know, with a little, obviously, because they're our team and everything like that. So,
awesome.
But yeah, we just have fun like you do here. We're gonna, you know, we're gonna make some friends. But we're gonna, you know,
we got some different stuff coming here too, and I haven't announced anything yet, but there's going to be some changes as far as the channel goes, and I mean, not necessarily the channel, but there's going to be additional stuff that I'm going to be doing moving forward. And I mean, it's exciting, man. It's an exciting time. I mean, we've been building the brand and building the channel for a while now. But it's because we love doing it. But I mean, I feel strongly about these subjects. These subjects right here are important to me. And it's something that I've always felt like, you know, who runs the sport? The big picture that I feel like this whole deal is who runs the sport? You know, Sankey's saying he wants transfer limits. The NCAA wants enforcement teeth. The SEC and the Big Ten want their media autonomy and should have it. Congress is circling around because they want their piece of the pie. So are we going to head toward the super conference, or, I mean, is the NCAA going to become irrelevant? I hope that's a part of it. But or is this coordinated power consolidation? What is it?
Everybody wants to control the narrative.
Yeah.
You know, they want to be the head of the table, they know, and everything like that. And so, like you said, what's the right solution? You know, I feel
like this is what's happening. That college football it's not reform, it's consolidation. Sankey's not reacting to what's going on. He's positioning himself and his conference to be at the front. The NCAA, they don't care about cracking down on tampering. They're trying to stay relevant. Okay.
Yep.
And the SEC and the Big Ten are protecting their vault of cash, and rightfully so. Again, the question isn't whether rules are going to change. We know they're going to change, right? We know they are. The question moving forward is who's going to write the rules, And that's what you have to pay attention to with this stuff. Who's going to write these rules? Because at the end of the day, that's determining who that is what's is how you're going to determine what we see in college sports moving forward, guys.
Sure.
That's it.
Yep, and that's where that's until we get that resolution, we're going to continue to see the same type of things going on, and people are just going to follow the rules that have been put in place right now. You know, whether it's tampering, all that stuff, until people enforce it, they're going to continue to do it, and even when they're going to start enforcing it, they're still going to do it. So,
yeah, there's a lot, but again, I would tell everybody the all the stories about the demise of college sports and college football, college basketball, whatever, they are greatly exaggerated. The money just continues to go up. Follow the money. It ain't going nowhere. It's going to be about who is making the rules. That's the power. The power is what it's at. It's just like, I don't do politics on this show, but it's the same shit in politics. It's about power. Who's writing the rules?
It's the old saying, he who has the money makes the rules.
Yep. Yep, no doubt. Well, man, I appreciate you coming in. Guys, I appreciate everybody coming in and spending some time with us tonight. We've been going for 2 hours. I got to get some food in me and got some stuff to do. But, hey, man, I appreciate you coming in, Drew, man. It's good to see you again.
For sure. Yeah, let's do it again. And guys, again, I'm the host of the Huddle Up podcast over on YouTube. We got Twitter, all that good stuff. Me and my buddy, David Glidden, we do one. We try to do it Thursday nights. And so we're going to kind of keep that same format. We may even roll some other episodes and stuff out, but we try to do one on Thursday nights. But please go over and help us grow the channel, subscribe, do all that stuff. Go like some stuff. We even have some videos and stuff out that are already. We had a interview a couple weeks ago with Leah Beasley. She's the deputy AD at Penn State. She was formerly at Oklahoma for a while. She had some good stuff about NIL and how they do stuff at Penn State. She's awesome. She's a good friend of mine. Even had a
send her my way. I'd love to have her on. Have her on.
So, she's really good. But and then we're actively trying to grow it and get some people on. We may have Jay come on with us and do all kinds of different stuff. But we like talking ball and having a good time over there. And like I said, we throw a little Oklahoma City Thunder stuff in there as well. So we'd love for you guys to come over and check it out.
Awesome stuff, man. I appreciate you coming in. And again, man, I've been watching it, so I appreciate it. I love the show, and glad you're back doing it, man. Glad to see you back in it.
Sure.
So
appreciate
we'll get together soon and hang tight while I go out on the outro here, and then guys, make sure you get hey, help me get to 5,000. I'm 70 away from 5,000. Help me get there. We're share the stream, man. Share the stream with everybody out there. We'd appreciate you coming in, spending time with us. See you all on the next one.